Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is a lovely Thursday evening here in our capital. Let me just make sure things are working here. Good evening, good evening. Okay, so if I can hear myself, I figure you guys can hear me as well, which means that then I Hello, how are we this evening? You'll see I've moved that damn camera around yet again. As always, I am Julie Hall. Hello, how are you going this evening? Hope you're having a great day. We'll chat more about what I've been doing this week, but I hope you guys have been having a lovely, relaxing for the southern hemisphere, end of winter. How lovely is that? Spring starts tomorrow and it cannot come early enough. So very excited about that. What else can I tell you? We've got Kathy Odekirken with us. Thank you for joining us, Kathy. But yes, it's 11 degrees here. It's a little bit chilly. But I don't have to finish cooking dinner and instead I get to be here with you guys. So I am happy. And tonight we are going to look at the next in the Deco Divas, which is Florence. And Florence is, what's a nice way of saying stone cold, icy sort of a chick. She's got a real stare to her. But what I love most about the Florence design is the feather on the cap. So let's get to it and have a look at how we create this fantastic design. Okay. So, as always, I've got my fabric and I've got my wash away thread. And good evening, Ray Smith. Thank you for joining us, my dear. Okay. I am always amazed when I put the needle, the presser foot down at just how strongly that presser foot goes down, like you cannot move that hoop. Which just does just amaze me. Now, I've been doing it for all of these designs using the basting stitch that is a freebie on our website. And it has worked so well. I really didn't want to waste the extra fabric that it would have taken to put this in the hoop securely. So this basting stitch really has given me the opportunity that I have not needed to do that. And good evening, Nancy Cook. Thank you for coming along. Okay. Now, very pleased that I keep this wash away thread in a drawer because I had a small leak the other week in the office and thankfully the wash away thread was fine. When that does happen, not with wash away thread but with normal thread, do put it in the cupboard with some desiccants. It really does make all the difference. Okay, now, and I'm being very stingy with my face colour at the moment because I know I've only got another 4 blocks to go, but I really want the fabric to last that long. Now, Florence is one of the quicker designs in this collection, and if you haven't seen, check out our Locked in Stitches Facebook group to see what one of our participants did this week. I'll see if I can drag the picture up because the colours and everything, and she's used on the hat a brooch or a button, and it just looks stunning. And we've got Denise Casales. Thank you for coming along. And there's only a tiny little bit of hair here. And what I have enjoyed with these guys is using the 3 different colours of hair in them. I found that was a lot of fun and just the opportunity to do something that little bit different. Now, this is different than what a lot of the other blocks of this have. What I've done here, and I'll tell you exactly why I've done it after, is we're doing our blush or our cheek colour a lot earlier than we have in other things. And the reason that we've done this is simply because it needs to, like half of that cheek needs to go underneath the hair. And this was the only way to do that and still get that beautiful spiral look that I wanted with it. And I cannot find that design for the life of me now, but it was just gorgeous. I think it was Angela Sereno who did it. Now, I ummed and ahed about this fabric. I'm loving the blue. I ummed and ahed about the pattern because it looks like such a childish pattern, but I justified it by the overstitching that was going to go into it. And I can see we've got Christine Annabelle with us as well. Thank you for coming along. Okay. Now, I did think the blue and the that beautiful chocolatey brown hair went really well together though. And so we're going to continue. And look, I love, this really is one of the simpler blocks. And one of the reasons for that is because the feather in the hair in the hat is so dramatic. I can remember the first one that I did of this. It was, and I mean, this is going back 10 years now, but it was one of those curse sort of a things, simply because I was using, okay, now this is a trick that I've found over the last couple of weeks. What I am doing here is taking some of my quilt clips and just attaching that quilt clip to the edge of the project. So really pulling the stabilizer and the fabric together. And what that does is, have you ever noticed when you baste into the hoop, if you then do a satin stitch near the edge of that basting, you can quite often get a little bit of buckling. What those clips do is stop the edges from any movement. So once again, it's just another way to get the best out of what you are doing. But the feather, the first one I did, I used the most beautiful metallic multicolored thread. Now, beautiful, beautiful thread, but my God, it was a horror to use. And it was one of those ones that I'd had for years and I hadn't used because every time I used it, it was just such a horror. And it lived up to its standard thing, and it was an absolute horror. So, I think it broke like, what was it? I think it was 12, 15 times over the course of doing it. Now, that's all the applique pieces that we've got to lie down. When I said this was a quick one, I meant it. But now we're going to do our eyes. As always, I'm doing the eye detail in really dark brown, just because I find it is so much more subtle than going the black. I find black just looks a little bit too harsh. So, what's everybody else been up to this week? I have been, I've spent my week in front of the computer. I've been undertaking a class to improve and to upgrade my qualification for training. Okay, so now we're on to our face detail. So we're going to add in our nose. And then we're going to outline the face. So I am a little bit brain dead at the moment, and I've got kind of a sore back from sitting there all week, just sort of doing nothing but sitting in front of the computer. But hopefully what that has done is going to make me a better trainer for some of the things that I've got coming up for you guys next year. So it's been fun for that. Tomorrow I finish the hands-on part of that course, and I've got to go and do a 20-minute presentation tomorrow. But it's been a lot of fun. And now we go for the lips. Now, the way that she's looking over the shoulder, she very much reminds me of Gracie on this one. Grace is very good at pulling the sultry look. Emma gives you the death stare. Okay. So all of this for me was built around the colour blue. And when I looked at my blocks so far, I realised I hadn't used a lot of blue. So because I've been doing a training course, I really haven't done a hell of a lot this week. Now, I am loving the way this does the over stitching. It really allows it to take another element through. And what I'm finding, as I'm watching this stitch out, what I'm really seeing is that the butterflies are kind of merging into the background. I'm not seeing them as butterflies, really. It's just extra texture in that design. The initial set that I did of this, I used a lot of hand-dyed fabrics because I'd recently come off finishing the floral windows quilt, which was all hand-dyed. So I had a lot of leftovers. What about you guys? What kind of fabrics do you prefer working with? Do you have a preference between, certainly for embroidery and applique, do you prefer hand-dyed? Do you prefer working with patterns? I'm always interested. I've been thinking about doing a set of applique animals that I sold some artwork for. So I'm always interested in the way people work. The other thing that I do like, and I'm just going to bring up the picture and show you guys so that you can see what I'm talking about. If I come into my original, because the other joy of this is because there's so few colours on here, and Kathy's loving the grunge. Oh, isn't that a beautiful collection? Have you seen the grunge where it's almost like they've painted a little bit of metallic over there as well? I thought that was just stunning. Okay, so if I come through here and I show you guys this. So this was my original block, and you can see how gorgeous that metallic is, but you can also see exactly so you can see why I chose it, and hopefully, yeah, it was just such a bugger to work with. That's just the strongest memory that I have of that one. But because I used a hand dyed here, you really get the detail of the stitches very, very clearly in this version. And that's fine and great. And you know, I'm loving that shows it. But then I'm also loving that when we come through onto this one, and let me just find our place here. So when we come through onto this one, you don't see the individual designs or stitches as much as you just get that overarching look. And it's really just a beautiful representation of how things change with different fabrics used. I'm just going to see if I can find a picture of the grunge metallics. And then they brought out the grunge in the spots. Oh, good heavens. They really are there to just to entice me. And I've been trying so hard to not go out and purchase the entire set. And I've done so well this year. One of the things that I've really been trying to do this year is use up things that I already have. What about everybody else? We're 8 months in, so there's only 3 months till Christmas. Anybody else had any, like looking back, anybody else had any anything they've been looking at, or any goals for the year that they've been trying to achieve? And so now we're on to her shoulder. And Gail Murphy's with us as well. Good evening, Gail. I hope you are having a lovely day. What I love is that, and for any of you who have been trying these, I don't know whether anybody has looked at the time it takes, but people just don't understand just how much time it does take to do these. And it's because of all this overstitching that really does give the texture. And when I first started digitizing, it didn't even hit my mind that you could do something other than just applique around an item. Like, I thought that was all you could do. So being able to come through and create and add texture to fabric with stitches, for me, is a really cool one. So we've got Father's Day this weekend. Well, certainly in Australia anyway. What's everybody up to? We will be taking we'll be having sort of nice special dinner for my husband. And then we will, I think he wants, what did he say? He wanted some sort of a hedge trimmer or something. So that is our main goal. We're also going to, there's a disability expo, and we want to take Emma there so that she can have a look at ideally some options for some help getting jobs, etc. Good evening, Ray. No, you cannot be too late, doll. Do not worry. So that's our main plan for the week, or for the weekend. But other than that, I've got, I've started doing the video for the new glasses case, but sort of that's all I've done. I got sort of quite caught up making sure I had everything ready to start that course this week. And I have missed stitching. Oh, it's amazing. You don't do it for a couple of days and good heavens. Okay. So we're not seeing my dad this Father's Day because on Monday, he's actually got visitors all weekend, because on Monday he's cruising off to Vanuatu for 2 weeks. So, and he's such a darling. He calls me up the other day, "You're not to buy me anything." And I'm thinking, good, I haven't. I'm very, very unplanned. And he was, this is the man who our entire life has done the you know, all I want's the love and respect of my family. So we haven't got him anything for Father's Day, but we do have a plan that for Christmas we are going to hook him up to a couple of different streaming services so that he can see the football and a couple of other things as well. Okay, so now we're on to the feather, and I have slowed the speed down and I have coated this stuff in the thread serum. Now I am using a it is not the normal, this is not a King Star metallic. I was surprised at just how well this did go. But this is not a King Star metallic because I wanted the dual tone, and for some reason in my thread drawer I had this gorgeous silver and blue colour metallic thread, so I thought I'd give it a go. Good evening, Michelle Reynolds. Thank you for joining us, my darling. One thing I have been surprised at as I've done these divas, and it's colour theory that I probably should have paid more attention to, is just how much colour is absorbed into the grey. Much more than I thought. It does make the divas themselves pop because we're using applique fabric, but the external pieces I found were a little more interesting to try and get good colours on, as opposed to the black and the cream that I'd used previously. So I thought that was just interesting feedback for those of you who might not have started yet, or who might be looking at when to use what colour. Just, yeah, it's a really interesting one, but it is, I'm surprised at just how much it's absorbed the colour. And you can see why I chose this colour though. How, I know, isn't that pretty? I mean, it was a pain in the neck. I really had to sit there and watch it the entire time. And this is sped up a little bit. I was stitching on 400 stitches a minute. But damn, it looks good. I'm so happy with that part of it. And it was one of those threads that you get thrown in when you buy a pack of threads from wherever I'd got them from. Like, you know, it's probably 5 or 6 years old now. My nan had one of these hats with one of those floopy bits coming down though. And I can remember she lived out at Marylands near Parramatta in Sydney. And she never drove, but when we'd go to visit her, she'd take us in to Parramatta, which was a much bigger shopping area than we had where we lived. And, you know, she was the woman who went to Fletcher Jones for her day dresses. So you dressed nicely. You weren't dressing in average things. You dressed when you left the house. And I can remember she had one hat, and yeah, it had one of those floopy over sort of things on it. And you can see here how the colour really is just blending into that grey background. Now, can you see here how we are stitching just right on the edge of where that basting stitch is? This is what I mean by using the quilt clips just to hold the fabric that we've basted on to the stabilizer at the edge. And all that does is it holds it holds the fabric so that you can't get just that little pucker in the fabric. It's just a tiny little tip, but darn does it work well. Oh, Michelle's got a hat similar, but hers is crocheted. Ooh. See, I love hats and I have so much trouble finding them because I've got such a big fat head. Okay. Now, actually, that was the other thing I wanted to show you guys as well. I must see if I can find. And it was something that my husband watches. You know the dude from Adam Savage from Mythbusters. My husband watches a lot of his videos and was watching a video the other day, and he's like, oh, well, you've got to make this, you've got to do this. So let me show you what he was so enthused about, because I thought then it was really amusing almost how much my husband doesn't understand what I do. And actually, what are we at? Oh no, we've still got 7 minutes of stitching going on that. Okay. So this is Adam Savage's website. What my darling husband was interested in is he's been looking at this apron for a long time, and been suggesting that a good wife could make it for him, and because it wraps around the leg, so it really does protect, and it's got pockets for everything. And I'm thinking it might actually have to become a project, but from the leftovers out of that, what this guy's done is he has had created this set of zip pouches. That's all they are. Now, hubby is thinking these are wonderful because they've got numbers on them, so you know which one's which. And I'm sitting there and thinking, what in the good Lord's name are we doing, my beloved? But, and I'm loving the really industrial fabric. I mean, I'm thinking denim, but I am thinking that might be something that I do before Christmas so that I can include a set of those in my darling husband's Christmas presents. Orange is never a bad idea. I like orange because it just does go so well. Exactly. So no more Doctor Who. I'll just, slap a damn number on them. But I really found that interesting that he's, oh, honey, you should do something like this. And it's like, what the hell do you think I do? I've been showing you the You Do You pouches for over a year now. And I sincerely doubt that he would remember what's in number 1 and what's in number 2. We sat there yesterday and I really thought he was part of the discussion. it was Grace, Edward and I were in the lounge room and we were talking about weekend plans. And at the end of it, I said, you know, so which day do you want to do this? And he turns to me and this blank look. Huh? What are we doing? And he just hadn't listened at all, and it was stupefying. But he has a pair of jeans that I actually suggested I might mend them, but you and I both know that I'm not going to do that. And they've got a couple of holes in them, and I thought that they might be the ones that get turned into a couple of different sizes. Because the one thing I do think, and is that I could do them in different sizes for different things. Okay. And if you're going to use blue, kind of feel like you got to add a little bit of green in there as well. So this design I actually had a little bit more trouble with when I was digitizing it, I remember, because the design itself is quite small and really could have been done with the woman and the shoulder being a bit larger, but I didn't want to lose anything of that dramatic ostrich feather. So I had to keep that the way it was. And therefore I had to add in extra external elements to what I maybe would have normally. My darling family are feasting on meatloaf as we speak. And I'm hoping for a really good week next week because Edward's going away for 2 days for work. So, you know, kids and I have an easy time. There's, you know, toasted sandwiches for dinner sort of meals. So last week you guys all heard the drama of the cars. I don't know if I filled you in on the on how that all finished off. I drove the car on Friday and the motor exploded. So that's done. So, I mean, I have been here, like, tied up doing coursework all week. So I haven't missed not having a car. We'll see how I go next week. Oh, yeah, meatloaf is a good night. And I've heard, after we got started, I heard Cameron arrive home. So I'm just waiting to see. I know he did something with bechamel today in class. I was hoping for vol au vents, but he wouldn't tell me what he was doing. So I'm just not sure. Oh, roast chicken, yummo. Father's Day dinner is ribs, fries, and chicken wings. In the whole household. I gave Edward the option. He could either have his festival of meat, which is just a mixed grill, or, you know, I'd end up spending the same amount on ribs. So I did a rib buy, and I'll marinate them on Sunday morning, and then we'll barbecue them. Okay, how does that look though? Let's come and have a look at what we've got. So What do you think? I think she is looking pretty darn nice. And you can see what I mean. I really struggle initially seeing butterflies. I see maybe blooms, but I don't see a lot of butterflies there. And it's taken that fabric to that whole other level. So, the only other thing I've really done this week is I have been playing with my glasses case in different styles, and that's really to make the pattern for. So that has been a fun one, and to make the videos. And I'm really, I mean, I know I said it last week, but I really am hoping to have that done this week. So I know that is an awfully quick one this week, but Florence really is a quick design. I know Louise from next door has used it a couple of times with doing it on the back of shirts, because if you take that bottom part off, by bottom part I mean just this part here, you really can just have something that's quite sort of small and that can easily go on the back of a shirt. So, as always, thank you so much for spending some time with me tonight. We will be back on Sunday, where we're going to do the next in the lovely. I know I got them stuffed up this week and mixed around. I am so sorry. But Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock, we're going to do the lovely block. And I'm going to show you how I'm starting to put all of those blocks together. So what I love is that, you know, we're now at month 8 and we can start playing with how it is all going to come together. So, as always, thank you so much for spending time with me this evening. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you